Yuri Alekseyevich Gagarin was a Soviet pilot and cosmonaut. He was the first human to journey into outer space when his Vostok spacecraft completed an orbit of the Earth on the 12th of April 1961. Gagarin became an international celebrity and was awarded many medals and titles, including Hero of the Soviet Union, the nation's highest honor. Vostok 1 marked his only spaceflight, but he served as backup crew to the Soyuz 1 mission, which ended in a fatal crash. Gagarin later became Deputy Training Director of the Cosmonaut Training Centre outside Moscow, which was later named after him. Gagarin died in 1968, when the Mi-15 training jet he was piloting crashed. The Fédération Aéronautique Internationale awards the Yuri A. Gagarin Gold Medal in his honor. Yuri Gagarin was born in the village of Kloshino, near Gzhatsk, on the 9th of March 1934. His parents worked on a collective farm. His father, Alexey Ivanovich Gagarin, was a carpenter and bricklayer, and his mother, Anna Timofeyevna Gagarina, was a milkmaid. Yuri was the third of 4 children. Like millions of people in the Soviet Union, the Gagarin family suffered during Nazi occupation in World War II. Kloshino was occupied in November 1941 during the German advance on Moscow, and an officer took over the Gagarin residence. The family was allowed to build a mud hut, approximately inside, on the land behind their house, where they spent a year and 9 months until the end of the occupation. In 1946, the family moved to Gzhatsk, where Gagarin continued his secondary education. In 1950, Gagarin entered into an apprenticeship at age 16 as a foundryman at the Lyubitsy steel plant near Moscow, and also enrolled at a local young workers' school for 7th grade evening classes. After graduating in 1951 from both the 7th grade and the vocational school, he was selected for further training at the Saratov Industrial Technical School, where he studied tractors. While in Saratov, Gagarin volunteered for weekend training as a Soviet air cadet at a local flying club, where he learned to fly, at first in a biplane, and later in a Yak-18 trainer. He also earned extra money as a part-time dock laborer on the Volga River. After graduating from the technical school in 1955, the Soviet Army drafted Gagarin. On a recommendation, Gagarin was sent to the 1st Chkalov Air Force Pilots School in Orenburg, and soloed in a Mi-15 in 1957. Post-graduation, he was assigned to the Luostari Air Base in Murmansk Oblast, close to the Norwegian border, where terrible weather made flying risky. He became a lieutenant in the Soviet Air Forces on the 5th of November 1957. On the 6th of November 1959 he received the rank of senior lieutenant. In 1960, after much searching and a selection process, Yuri Gagarin was chosen with 19 other pilots for the Soviet space program. Gagarin was further selected for an elite training group known as the Sochi 6, from which the first cosmonauts of the Vostok program would be chosen. Gagarin and other prospective candidates were subjected to experiments designed to test physical and psychological endurance. He also underwent training for the upcoming flight. Out of the 20 selected, the eventual choices for the first launch were Gagarin and German Titov due to their performance during training sessions as well as their physical characteristics. Space was limited in the small Vostok cockpit, and both men were rather short. Gagarin was 1.57 meters tall. Gagarin was also a favored candidate by his peers. When the 20 candidates were asked to anonymously vote for which other candidate they would like to see as the first to fly, all but 3 chose Gagarin. One of these candidates, Yevgeny Krunov, believed that Gagarin was very focused and was demanding of himself and others when necessary. On the 12th of April 1961, the Vostok 3 Ka-3 spacecraft with Gagarin aboard was launched from Baikonur Cosmodrome. Gagarin thus became both the first human to travel into space and the first to orbit the Earth. Gagarin's flight was a triumph for the Soviet space program. The announcement on the Soviet radio was made by Yuri Levitin, the same speaker who announced all major events in the Great Patriotic War. Gagarin became a national hero of the Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc, and a worldwide celebrity. Newspapers around the globe published his biography and details of his flight. Moscow and other cities in the USSR held mass demonstrations, the scale of which was second only to World War II victory parades. Gagarin was escorted in a long motorcade of high-ranking officials through the streets of Moscow to the Kremlin where, in a lavish ceremony, he was awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union by Nikita Khrushchev. In 1962, he began serving as a deputy to the Soviet of the Union, and was elected to the Central Committee of the Young Communist League. He later returned to Star City, the Cosmonaut facility, where he spent several years working on designs for a reusable spacecraft. He became a lieutenant colonel of the Soviet Air Forces on the 12th of June 1962, and received the rank of colonel on the 6th of November 1963. On the 27th of March 1968, while on a routine training flight from Chkalovsky Air Base, he and flight instructor Vladimir Surajin died in a MiG-15 UT crash near the town of Kurzhach. The bodies of Gagarin and Surajin were cremated, and the ashes were buried in the walls of the Kremlin on Red Square. A number of buildings and other sites on Earth have been named for Gagarin. The Cosmonaut Training Centre in Star City was named in 1969. The launch pad at Baikonur Cosmodrome from which Sputnik 1 and Vostok 1 were launched is now known as Gagarin Start. Several statues have been erected in his honor. On the 4th of June 1980, a monument to Gagarin was opened on Gagarin Square in Leninsky Avenue, Moscow. The monument is 42.4 meters tall and constructed of titanium. Here were 2 commemorative coins issued in the Soviet Union to honor the 20th and 30th anniversaries of his flight. 1 ruble coin and 3 ruble coin. In 2001, to commemorate the 40th anniversary of Gagarin's flight, a series of 4 coins bearing his likeness was issued in Russia. In 2011, Russia issued a 1000 ruble coin and 3 ruble coin to mark the 50th anniversary of his flight.